Hey, everybody. Welcome to week three
Yes.
of Homeschool Chat with myself, Pastor Andy, and Pastor Julie right there. Julie, say hello.
Hey, good morning or good afternoon.
Morning.
Remember
It's
what
morning
time it is.
somewhere. How's the week been?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Kind of getting
Quiet.
into a rhythm.
That's good.
Yeah.
A good rhythm, or a rhythm that you want to like take an ice pick to your head? Because that's also a rhythm.
Good, but man, I miss my people. I know, like most people, I miss my friends. I miss the people I work with, and kind of ready to get back.
We're ready to have you back. Let's put it that way. It's getting kind of lonely at the studio. So the way we've been doing these homeschool chats is we're just live. We're live right now. It's 4:00 in the East, in Eastern time. We're live right now. The chat's going to be running. Whoever's watching right now, great. If you're watching this right now and you have any questions or you want us to stop on anything, throw it in the chat and I'll be reading the comments and all those things. If this is after the fact, if you're watching this Friday evening, Saturday, even on into next week, feel free to just throw a comment in there. Both Julie and I will be able to see it. We can respond in kind. Also, don't be afraid to share this post and share this YouTube link with your friends. This is Homeschool Chat, and we know not a lot of you are homeschool moms and dads. You've been forced into that, and we're going to get to a very special guest in 1 second who's going to help us out with that. But we know that you've been kind of forced into this realm. So feel free to spread the love, spread the help around by sharing this, by liking this post, by hitting even the subscribe button on YouTube. It's all going to funnel to trying to help people out. But special guest time. Julie, would you like to introduce the special guest as I bring her on camera right now? There she is.
Hey, Sharon. Yeah, today we have Sharon Smith. And she is just an incredible person, and she's a great friend. But really, the reason she's here today is because she's an amazing teacher. She has just an incredible amount of experience. And so here, let me just tell you some of the things that Sharon has done so far in her career. She's taught elementary. She's taught ESE, K through 12. She's a teacher mentor. And in Hillsborough County, she was one of the finalists for Teacher of the Year, which is our county is very big, and that's a huge deal. Which is yay, Sharon. We're so proud of you.
Sharon.
Thanks.
But right now, she has some very special experience that really can speak into our situation because she teaches homebound students here in Hillsborough County, K through 12. She teaches a wide range of kids using the public school curriculum at home. So she's very familiar with what kind of the rest of us have all been thrown into right now.
Absolutely. And I need to stress the K through 12 aspect. We were getting ready. We were doing kind of the camera warm-ups and all this before this. And I just said, just offhandedly trying to get levels in my ears and stuff, Sharon, what grades are you teaching? And she said K through 12. And I went, oh, excuse me. I was drinking my Waterloo seltzer water, my black cherry. And I coughed a little bit and it got up in my nose. So I'm still dealing with the after effects of that. Thank you, Sharon. We're going to roll into some of the interview portion, some of the questions that we had right now. First question I want to throw out to you, Sharon, in particular. As I was talking with Julie just during the intro part, a lot of parents have been thrown into a situation that they're not used to. They're working full time. They're in Zoom meetings. They're trying to put lasagna in the oven, right. And they're also having to help their kids through school. So, what's the best? Give me some best practices or a best approach to this time period.
So thanks for having me here. This is just so awesome to participate in this. First, I want to say, I work with hospital homebound kids. So these kids are, they're medically unable to go to school. So many times their world's been rocked too when they get a medical diagnosis and they are now at home. The families have to adjust, the parents have to adjust. All of a sudden, their world is completely different. And I think we've kind of gone through a similar experience with COVID-19. Now all of our, worlds have been rocked, and education, as we all knew it, is completely different. So, I think in that time when I go in with the families for the first time, it's really talking to them about, all right, let's have some patience. Let's have grace. Let's celebrate the successes, and where we're frustrated, let's problem solve around it. But we're in this together. And I think if I could really encourage you all, it would be to say, you know what? We're in this together. A lot of public school teachers have never done this before. So it's, a whole new world for them, and they're trying to do the best that they know how to do, and just like you guys are. So, if I could say anything to you guys as encouraging, I would say, have a lot of patience for yourself, for everyone in the house that might be driving you crazy, for the teacher that just assigned a ton of stuff and you don't understand. There's going to be a lot of patience that you're going to have, and a lot of grace you're going to have to, extend to others. But I think that, in all of this, we can find the joy, and we can find the really cool things that are lessons that are coming out of this. So if I could share that, I think that's kind of my first bit of advice.
That's awesome. And you talk about the one side where teachers are assigning a ton of work. We're actually, strangely enough, in our family or in our house, on the other side, where our kids have kind of flown through everything. Like our 10-year-old, he's in 4th grade, but he reads at like a 6th grade level. And I'm very proud of him. I'm going to brag on him a little bit. But all three of our kids are doing that, and they're done with their work by 10, 11, 12. And I think that might be exacerbating the situation a little bit. Any tips for those parents that have kids that are flying through?
Yeah. You know what? Take advantage of that time, because you can let them explore some interests. You can let them try out new things, or, encourage them. Sometimes, with kids, we have to say, okay, so here's your choice. You're done with your work. You can read a book or do this, but no screen time. Or, we always had to set parameters. I'm sure you encounter this with families at home too, Sharon. We, when we were homeschooling, said no screen time, no video games until the sun goes down,
right?
No television until the sun goes down, to just take that off the table. But it's a pretty great opportunity you have, Andy. And, homeschoolers see that a lot, that the curriculum part doesn't take the whole day. And I'm sure, Sharon, you probably see that with your students too, that the actual curriculum part doesn't take as long as it would in a classroom, because the classroom teacher is moving so many students through that material.
So I've heard it on both sides, Julie. I've heard in some cases there's not enough work. And I've heard in some cases families are completely overwhelmed by the amount of work that's coming at them. And I truly believe that's it's case by case, and it's also, the ability of the student too, and I think that that's where really good communication with the teacher. I know, a lot of my peers, we have been working together to try to learn, this new digital platform, but we are all trying to work together to say, what are some things we can assign? What are some other ideas? What are, some ways that we can help families? And it's constantly evolving. But, really good communication between the parents and between the teachers is what I would really encourage. If you're stuck on something, get in touch with your teacher, because they can, try to help you through it. Or if there's not enough work, maybe there's some great, creative assignment that they could, a project-based learning that would tap into your students' interests that they could assign, so that, that still engages them. I think there's got to be a really good balance right now between learning and between home and family and fun. There should be some fun. One of the things when I go into a home, that we're starting, if I'm starting with them, is to encourage them to look at the learning space and see where, their learning space is, and make sure that's got good organization around it. I also encourage a family meeting. So maybe like a weekly touch base. Let's look at what we've got coming up, what worked, and let's celebrate that. Woohoo! What didn't work? And instead of, the bickering or the fighting, how do we problem solve around it? How do we find some solutions? One of the other things that I see is families putting together schedules. So there might be a schedule, like an individual schedule, maybe by student, or maybe, it really depends upon the families and what their needs are. You might have, the parents working from home. So maybe there's only a certain amount of time that they can spend with the student working on their work. What I find is when there's more conflict, it's because we haven't thought out the schedule so that everybody has buy-in to the schedule. Everybody, because you might have teenagers that want to work in the middle of the night. Well, parents don't want to stay up till the middle of the night working with them. But if they know there's going to be a touch base at a certain time, then that frees up the high schooler or the older kid to work later in the evening. But yet the parent to know they're going to have a touch base and they can still stay on top of the work. So really having those family meetings, having a schedule, and even having it posted. I have my families post their schedules on their refrigerator, so everybody kind of knows what everybody's doing. And it's a great, form of communication. Also, we're finding, in public schools that a lot of families are having to share devices. And so we've really tried to be mindful of the amount of work that we are assigning, because there are a lot of families that are sharing devices, and there might be one device in that household. So having a schedule that would allow for that device to go person to person in a timely manner can sometimes eliminate some of that stress that's going on.
Sure.
So
go ahead, Julie.
Giving kids a voice in kind of the way the day goes. I found when I was homeschooling that it made a big difference. And I'm sure in this time where there's so much that kids and parents can't control, so much that all of us cannot control, to give kids a voice in kind of, well, how does this day look for you? And what do you think is a good idea? Not that you're giving kids free reign, but to let them have choices where you can. I think it's a huge deal. And let them be heard is really great. Yeah.
If you have some time in the morning and the time in the afternoon, you have some blocks that you could work with them, then offer it to them and say, which one would you prefer? It's not that we don't work together. It's, would you rather, work in the morning or in the afternoon? So, and letting them have that choice and that buy-in, I think, and then having a visual schedule that everybody agreed to is impactful.
So the question that follows up in my mind is I have the quote unquote luxury of having to go to a place every single day that still operates. And so I have to leave home. I mean, I leave at 8 o'clock and I don't get home till 6 o'clock.
Right.
What is the responsibility of the parent to learn along with the kid? This is not a traditional homeschool curriculum that we're in right now. And so it might feel a little bit different, but my wife, who's insanely brilliant, she can figure all that. She can reason all this other stuff, but there might be some parents that are going, I don't know Common Core, whatever. So where's the responsibility of the parent in all of that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I would say that a lot more responsibility is landing on the parent's lap. However, your teacher should be in it with you. I'm hoping, I should say, that a teacher would have extended ways in which that you can get in touch with them. Some teachers are holding Zoom meetings so that, that you can come into class and there might be a lesson, or there might be time where, you can have some question and answer period. There's a lot of different ways that, families have, teachers are extending ways for families to get in touch with them. I know in Hillsborough County, we're using the system EDSB. And so there's a messaging system on that, that you could send an email to them and ask for help if you're stuck. But yes, there is a lot more that has, landed back on, the students and the parents in which to access online the materials, and then to, turn in assignments the way the parents ask. I think for us, we all have to extend grace in this learning process of how we're assigning, and how everybody's learning how to get into those platforms, learn that, that route, help our students to learn that route. And then once we sort of get a flow, it seems to be, we're in week 3 now, really, in e-learning, and I'm seeing a lot more work come in. I'm seeing a lot more participation, because I think that, we've done this for a couple of weeks. So now there's a rhythm and a routine kind of getting established.
Well, and that segues into the next. Oh, sorry, Julie, I cut you off there. My bad.
No, well, I was just going to say, teaching multiple kids when they've each got 6 subjects, there is no way a parent can learn all of that, know all of that. Just to free anybody up out there. There's just no way. There's going to be some things that your older children are learning that you're not going to be able to sit down and read that history lesson or that science lesson. It's just, please be released from that. I was speaking to a mom this week. Yeah, with 3 kids. She said, I'm totally overwhelmed. I have 3 kids. Each one has 6 teachers. And I mean, she's not faulting the teachers, but she's getting so much input from every teacher that she just feels like a failure. And so, like we've been saying, Grace, do the best you can. Yes. You're not going to know everything that every child is doing. It's okay. If your child is independent in history, let them be independent in history.
Right.
If they're handling a subject, let them handle it. You got this.
Right. Also, tapping into some other resources that are out there. I have heard that there are some high school, students that are offering up some free tutoring, or I know the district offers a lot of free tutor lines, phone numbers that you can call into. If you have older siblings in the house, oh my gosh, use them and let them help with younger siblings. In fact, I teach a teleclass. It's an entrepreneurship class. It's to high schoolers. And I have a girl on my class that actually has twin kindergartners at home. And so she is the one that is working with those kindergartners and teaching them and helping them through their curriculum. So lean on some of those siblings and see if, they couldn't help as well.
That's one of the secrets of homeschoolers. It helps the older child and the younger child.
Yes, it does.
It's called pawning them off on the older one. I like that.
It's called using your resources, Andy.
Sure. Yeah, I understand. Wink. Yeah, I get it. So I wanted to segue kind of back into something that you said, and full disclosure, everyone watching, Pastor Julie does an amazing job of kind of discovery on these homeschool chats we've been doing. She's very thorough in her preparation. And there's one thing that she had put down here that said honeymoon versus the grind. And it's in reference to, we've been in this, whatever we're in, for 3 to 5 weeks, depending on where in the country you're watching this. We just ended our 5th week of programming at Bay Hope. I mean, we're going on to week 6 of all this stuff. Like, it doesn't seem like we're in an end. And so I saw that honeymoon versus the grind, and I bolded it, and I went, I want to talk about that. So Julie, where are you going with that? Like, how are things changing over these 3 to 4 weeks?
Right. Well, whenever you start something new, there is a honeymoon time, even though none of us planned for this, right? There are a lot of families who jumped into this just with energy and optimism. And then you do it for a while, and that new part of it ends. And the energy kind of fades a little bit, and even the kids are getting kind of tired of it. They want to see their friends, and so that kind of energy changes. And by the way, that's normal for so many things. I mean, when you're homeschooling on a regular old year, that happens. You start with energy, and then it tapers. When kids are in school in a regular year, that happens. Everybody starts with energy, and then you get into the grind, where it's not very exciting anymore. We're all kind of tired, but you learn that you just have to do it. And it's a great time, especially now with parents at home with kids. You're going to have kids saying, I don't want to do it. I don't feel like it anymore, and grumbling. And that's an opportunity for them to grow. And one thing that we would always say in our house is, you know what? A lot of us have to do things we don't want to do every day. That's just kind of a part of life. and you can change your attitude, and life will be a lot better if you do. So I don't know, Sharon, are you seeing that? Do you see that with kids?
I see it with kids, and I see it with my fellow teachers. I think about a few weeks ago, we headed out for spring break, expecting to go back to school. And in a few short weeks, education has been turned on its head. And we have had to learn all new ways of teaching and, Zooming. And I just sat on some trainings this week and learned how to do this thing called Flipgrids and Wakelets. And so this learning opportunity is tremendous, but it can also be really overwhelming. And some people are really tech savvy and some are not. So I think you're right. We've all gone through this, kind of honeymoon period of what does it look like? And now we're in the grind and we're finding some things are working and some things are not. And so how do we go back and adjust? And as teachers, that's kind of where we're at right now. And some of it is frustrating, and some of it is, we're just having to creatively problem solve around, what's going to work for, the students that we have. And it's not a one size fits all solution. So I really like your idea of, your attitude, because I think that really has a huge impact on how well or, how poorly things are going to go. And you also just have to have patience with yourself and grace to say, I get to learn, I get to, the opportunity to try new things, and I'm not going to be great at it. I'd like to be, but I may not be. And that's okay to fail. It's okay. Pick yourself back up and try again. So I think that we've all been through this, as teachers, we're experiencing this huge rapid change. And I think as families, students and parents, they're going through that same change as well. And some of it's, going well, and others it's lonely, and we all miss each other. Let me tell you how much I miss my students and my colleagues, and,
sure.
But we're finding creative ways to still connect. And I think that that's really important.
So heaven forbid this goes longer than 2 to 3 more weeks. I shudder at the very thought of that. But what are some of in your guys' experiences, what are some of the other ways that you can kind of make this work, make the system kind of go? Like, what are the other things? We kind of talked about making sure there's a schedule and kind of, grace and all that other stuff. What's a couple other tips that you guys have?
Julie, you want to start, or you want me?
Sure. Yeah, we've experienced the grind every year, right? You experience it however you're teaching. And so some things that you can do is just switch up your day.
Yeah.
Say, you know what, surprise the kids and say, today we're starting with this fun activity, and just put your books away. We're not even doing that right now. So flipping things around on kids can switch it around. Sometimes just surprising them with a day off.
Yes.
I've
seen some of the cutest things that parents are doing with their kids. I've seen fathers and daughters singing together and recording songs together. I've seen the one I watched today was so cool. So, a lot of high schoolers are not able to have their proms. And so the girls were all, they did a video together of showing their prom dresses to each other and them in their prom dresses. And one of the dads came in and danced with the girl, on that. And it was just so sweet. I think this is a time we have to be creative. Yeah, we're working hard, but we got to play hard too. And that I always say to my, students, okay, we're going to work hard, but we're going to play hard too. So what are you doing to build in some fun? What are you doing to, allow some creativity and some joy in your day? Because that's equally as important as the learning piece of it. So I hope that, stress isn't the prevailing feeling in your home, that it's really more about, this is a great time for us to bond and, have joy and experience creativity, find ways that your kids like to, express that. Is it through movement? Is it through art? Is it through music? Is it through what is it? And tap into that. And you can bring in learning into that. But that could be a shared experience with you and your kids. And y'all will never forget that. This will be a time that you'll look back on that was an extreme bonding time too. So I hope that we're building a lot of fun and creativity into the time.
Yeah, it's funny. You talk about the stresses and the strains. I get to talk to adults every day in the online world and however it is, and they're experiencing stress, strain, depression, sadness, loss of job, all this other stuff. And I almost wonder, how is that affecting the kids at home? Because even if mommy and daddy don't want to say anything, they know when mommy and dad, it's just an innate thing. Right. And so I almost wonder if there isn't a way that somehow we can create a gut check system of, oh, right, I'm a parent first and I'm a worker second. I'm a parent first and I'm a Christ follower first, but I'm a parent and Christ follower first, and second, I will worry about my job. That type of thing.
Right. Right. We, in the first video, for those of you who didn't see it, in the first video, we talked about the importance of acknowledging to even young kids, this is hard. And you know what? Mommy's stressed, daddy's stressed. It's okay to be worried. Right. Let's talk about it. Because sometimes our inclination when things are not right is just to try to present it to kids like, oh, it's fine. No worries, no worries. But then that leaves them conflicted because they feel the worry. And then if they have an adult saying, no, nothing's wrong, they're not really sure how to handle it. So at an age appropriate way, it's really good to say, yeah, this is strange. Yeah, this is hard. But from there, move to, so how are we going to walk this out? And it's the parent's responsibility to set the tone. Right. You can't let your children set the tone for your day or your life right now, because it's not their responsibility. That's too big for them.
Right.
So do you see that, Sharon?
Yeah. And I think that's why I really encourage those family meetings, like once a week. I think that that's a good place to have that, to take a pulse and feel, get everybody to share what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and what's working, what's not. I think it creates a sense of unity that we're in this together. And I think that's a great time when the parents can really speak up and set the tone and the mood and help to find some creative solutions to moving it forward. So it's a much more positive environment. And it's tough. And I will say, I'm seeing with, families as I'm working with them as well, they're facing these challenges. Some of them, not only are they homeschooling, but they've got medical issues. They themselves have medical issues. And yet, they've learned to find the joy. They've learned to find how the humor, the fun in it, because that's what's helping them through all of it. So, find ways to, surprise your friends, or find a way to, interact and still, so you don't feel so cut off from things. That's, important too. And especially, your kids need to have ways to interact. I know that a lot of them do use, social media in which to do that, but finding ways that you can encourage that too as a parent would be important.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's go ahead, Julie.
One simple way we found to kind of get our kids talking about how they were feeling is just at a family meal, say, okay, best, worst, who goes first? Mm-hmm. Yep. And it wasn't an option. So sometimes if they were, not wanting to participate, we really encourage them to, but really most of the time they wanted to share, well, this was the best part of my day and this was the worst part of my day. And that's a really just a simple way that's not threatening to get them to kind of talk about, wow, this part of this day really stunk. Right. This is great.
That's great.
Absolutely. So I want to go back to something you said, Sharon. You said the kids are reaching out on social media. I've heard from my own kids that they miss friends, they miss all that other stuff. Any suggestions for that outside of social media? We don't allow our kids on social media. We're those crazy parents. We have a 15-year-old son, and he's never even seen what Instagram looks like on his phone. Mm-hmm. So any tips for weirdos like us that don't have any way to socialize their kids?
I would say that, you're going to have to certainly respect the social distancing right now. And that is really difficult. I do understand that. I've seen posters being put in friends' yards, I've seen, and so, they're encouraging, or tape a note up to somebody's window, something to that effect. The good old fashioned US mail.
What was that? I've never heard of that.
Remember
before.
that, with the stamp and an address and everything? There's phone calls, there are, those kinds of avenues as well. I don't know, in technology, what is, your practice in your family, but I know that in our family, we have now a Zoom chat. And so once a week, our family gets onto Zoom and we are able to see each other and connect that way. And it's a safer way, with a meeting ID and a password, so that it's protected, so that we could get on and see each other and interact in a face-to-face way. And that really makes a big difference for us. We've used it for faculty meetings. And, we feel connected that way. We're able to see each other, share ideas, share a smile and a laugh. And that goes a long way.
Yeah, yeah, it does. We're finding we have our three kids. I mean, they have two of the three have phones, and the other one has an iPad. And so they're all connected via text. They text everybody, they FaceTime, they do all the thing there.
Right.
They're also getting on a lot of Zoom calls, more so than I initially expected. They're doing it for school, but also for Bible studies and for things like that, which is cool. But the fear that I have is, I don't want them to feel like they can just close the lid of their laptop or turn off their phone and that person goes away. I want them to know, like, hey, that person's still there.
Right.
Because what I'm finding is, at least in the adult realm, people are having a tough time translating the screen to a person. They're having a tough time translating that there's an actual human being on the other side, which leads to bullying and trolling and all that other stuff. I'm not saying that's what's happening online with my kids, but I almost wonder if there isn't a way for us in this time to, as adults, be a little more childlike in what we're doing. Because I think kids right now, they're just, the digital native heart is just, okay, yeah, I understand, like that. I know Julie. I've sat with Julie. I know her. Like, I know she's a real person. So I'm like, I'm good with that. But they've just always grown up with this. So I don't know. It's a fascinating thing we're in right now.
For me, I think that's where parents really have to take the initiative. Pull out game night. Pull out your games. Pull out your cards. Pull out your puzzles. Pull out your arts and crafts, and start getting going on that. You will find some of the most amazing, fun things to do. Get on Pinterest. There's a lot of great ideas out there, and, let your creativity go. And what are you good at? Is it singing? Is it playing a piano? Is it drawing? Even if it's stick figures, I'm a stick figure drawer. But you know what? That's where your fun and your creativity needs to come out. Do a movie night and set it up with popcorn and let somebody pick the movie night. This is a time for you guys to come together and find some fun. Set up a little kiddie pool outside and jump in that. There's tons of ideas. I'm only scratching the surface, but this is a time I'd love to see, people schedule fun together.
Yeah, absolutely. Pastor Matthew, this a couple months ago, we had a all staff meeting. This back when those things, when actually used to be able to sit in the same room as each other. And we had a large staff meeting with all our staff, and he did a devotional that basically amounted to saying that every single person is a creative person. I personally am a musician. My brother and sister are musicians. All our family is musicians. And he pointed specifically to us and said, just because you can't play music doesn't mean you're a creative. Just because you don't write things, yada. And so I would love to see more, like my wife's latent creativity has just started coming out I came home a couple of nights ago, and she had painted the back of one of our doors with chalkboard paint. And now we have a chalkboard that's on the back of the door. It's great.
That's awesome.
We have I built a gym area with weights and a rower and all the stuff out in the garage. She built like a blackboard out there too. Just She just said, yeah, I'm going to do this. She did the kiddie pool thing. It's just, so anybody watching right now, you are a creative person. God instilled you in your brain some method, some mode of being creative. Use it, please, because we're just going to be sitting on our hands stagnating if not.
Well, and sometimes a lot of people don't even look at that until they're forced to slow down. And so really, and that's another way that this time is a gift.
Yes.
That we can really embrace and say, you're bored? Let's find something to do. Because there are tons of things to do. And also, sometimes when kids can't hang out with their friends, it makes them just really appreciate those siblings a lot more.
Right.
It's funny, Donna. Oh, go ahead.
Those siblings can be, have great ideas and great creativity too that you don't have. So fostering that connection between the two siblings in a fun project would be a great idea.
Absolutely. That's a good one. I'll have to roll that.
You will pair them up, right?
It's my wife's birthday coming up pretty soon, and so I might have them jumping in a project there.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to move into kind of our last little topic here, our last little question. 3 or 4 weeks we've been in this, but what are some of the issues and drawbacks you've been hearing from parents, not necessarily teachers, but from parents themselves? What have you guys been seeing?
What we've heard is way too much work assigned. It's been really stressful. Technology not working, too much reliance on technology. We don't have a printer at home. How are we supposed to print this out and do this? So we hear a lot of that, and teachers are really trying to work on, what works best for, each family, and each family is different. And we're learning this by trial and error. So, my best advice is just really reach out to your teacher and try to find, what's going to work for you and for them. I think that most teachers I know are really trying to bend over backwards to do the right thing, I learned when I went to hospital homebound that what I would have normally assigned in the classroom takes twice as long to do at home. And so I've had to narrow down not the curriculum, but the assignments, and really pinpoint how can I determine the learning here, and how can I really see that the student has mastered this standard. And I think that teachers are trying to figure what that is and what that balance is. But I think that it's trial and error. And I think that it's going to take good communication from the parents back, a little grace to say, hey, this is a little too much for us. What could we pare down to prove that, our student has learned this and satisfy, the assessment that you need to know. So I think that it's partnership, and it's working together and good communication.
Well, and do you think, Sharon, so one of the general things of teaching is you over prepare. So if you've got to fill an hour, you're ready to fill an hour and a half, right?
Sure.
So my guess is a lot of these teachers are just saying, okay, this is what I had prepared. It's more than they're going to do, but here you go.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
And some families and some kids thrive on having all of that, or they think that they don't have enough and they want more. And so we want to make sure that we're, putting that out there. And then others are looking at it going, whoa, way too much stuff. So, we want to adjust. I think that we want to differentiate our instruction to the students and to the families and to certainly understand it. But sometimes we just, we're still learning what that is. So we're hoping that families will communicate with us so that we have an opportunity to work with them and make it right and make it so it's workable.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've seen, and actually I was talking to a teacher the other day, I've spent, the last week trying to talk to teachers and parents and kind of hear what's going on. And one of the things that, like I said, I've seen, and this teacher at least is seeing, is kind of the delicate balance between helping your kids and enabling them and doing the work for them. And that is a little more tempting, a lot more tempting, actually, when you're doing school at home. I was talking to a teacher. She said, I've got a lot of students who were not doing very well. Now, miraculously, all of a sudden, they're getting hundreds. And she didn't really think it wasn't, their personal improvement. That so there are some parents that, of course, it's our human nature, right? Who are maybe jumping in and doing the work for their kids. And, I would see that sometimes with parents. And I honestly felt the temptation myself sometimes. So, I know if I reach in there and help that child, they'll get 100% right now. But that is not.
So that's a pitfall. That's definitely a pitfall. And I'll say, from a teacher experience, I'd rather see authentic work. I'd rather see what the student knows. I mean, let me tell you, I've had them all year long. So I've watched, I know, certainly what their capabilities are. I can't help a student if I don't see where they're failing and where they're having issues. And, and so I need to see the authentic work. Yeah. It is a temptation as a parent to jump in because you want your kid to succeed. And I appreciate that so much. I would want them to explain the directions. I would want parents to, to continue to encourage and continue to try to explain things. However, I think at some point, if there's frustration or there's a lack of understanding, I'd rather the student show that to me than I would, the parent help them to the point where it's really the parent's work and not the student's work.
Right.
Because we really are assessing. Yes, we're assessing to give a grade, but most importantly, we're assessing to know where our instruction goes next.
Yeah.
So and I can differentiate my instruction if I know a student's not getting it. But if they're getting hundreds on everything that the parent is helping them with, that doesn't help me as a teacher. So I certainly want to see authentic work. That's critical to me.
Yeah. Well, and long term, that does not do your child's character any good.
Yeah. No, because now they're reliant upon the parent or someone else to do the work for them. It's also eating away at their self-esteem where they don't feel like they can do things on their own and independently. So I'd want to encourage them to, they're not in it alone, but that they can do it. And when they aren't perfect, somebody's going to help explain it to them.
Right, right. You can give them a boost, right? Because we've seen overwhelmed kids that need someone to sit with them and give them intense help.
Sure.
Definitely do that. But definitely you can see enabling behavior. You teach your child dependence. And that's a great point. Lack of self-esteem, that they feel like they can't do it themselves.
Right. So we want to encourage them. Yes, you want to sit alongside them and, and help them. But at the same time, building into them that you believe in them and that you think, that they are intelligent and you're not going to get everything all the time. And we all make mistakes and we all don't know things and we hit frustration at times. But how do we work through that? And that resilient quality is something you're teaching them that's so valuable to them.
Absolutely. I do want to kind of change gears and, almost end this pretty soon. So I had one quick question for you, Sharon. You said something that really piqued my interest a little bit ago. You said that you're finding that it takes students, twice as long to do the same amount of work as they would do in a classroom. Any inclination as to why that would be?
Potentially it's because it's, coming through on a platform that they're unfamiliar with.
Okay.
Sometimes it's they didn't see the lesson completely. So now they're trying to figure it out on their own. Teachers are there for a reason because we are giving instruction. So sometimes when in the lack of that and they're having to go through it themselves and figure it out, what does this mean? And it becomes overwhelming. That takes a long time for them to decipher and go through it. So sometimes streamlining the number of problems that we give or assignments helps.
Awesome.
So.
Any other thoughts as we start to wrap up? Any other thoughts on homeschooling, how we can make this easier, even just cheering parents on, any ways we can encourage them?
For me, I sit in awe of the parents that are with their students right now, their kids, and the first and foremost, love them and tell them how awesome they are and love yourself. Because let me tell you, I am thoroughly impressed with what's been thrust upon you as parents. And, and what you're having to take on. So I also want you to know that teachers are in this with you, and we are really, we want you to communicate with us, and we want to work with you, and we want you and your kids to be successful. So I really hope that you work hard, but you play hard too. I want that creativity. I want that, that family time, and that those siblings, in the tent, the fort that they created, doing something fun together, or, I want those memories of this time to be not just about how we stressed about the work and the learning, but, what fun things we did together as a family. I think that's critical. But I sit in awe of all those parents that are at home doing this e-learning thing. Kudos to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No one could have guessed that America would be able to do this. If someone had asked us 6 weeks ago, hey, would it be possible within a couple weeks to have everybody homeschooling? We would have said no way.
Yeah,
but
buzz off, yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. It really is amazing. And so you're so right, Sharon, that people should really give themselves a little bit of credit, because
a lot of credit. And just understand, we know it's not perfect. We know that we're still, ironing out some of the speed bumps and the kinks. And I think we always will be. But I think if we have a lot of patience and grace and, and work together, we're just so much better together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So much better together.
Yeah. So,
absolutely. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, if I could just say a couple things, just a reminder that you're not alone. That you know what, everybody else is in this boat. Don't sit alone in this. If you're having a hard time, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors. Please reach out to Bay Hope. We're here for you. And you know what, our Kidsmen and our youth ministry are here for you. You can just go to the website, go on social media, and they would love to connect with you and support you in any way. Our children's ministry has resources on their website. So please take a look. And, if you need prayer of any kind, here on social media, we'd love to pray for you. On the website, you can just go there and click Need Prayer. We are actively praying for everybody homeschooling right now. But if you need some specific prayer, please reach out, because you're not alone. And I just want to share this verse that I absolutely love. I use it in the care ministry a lot.
I like that. Yep.
It's Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. God is with you in the middle of this hard time, loving you, loving your kids. And, this is a crisis. We all acknowledge that, but the definition of a crisis says that in every crisis there is opportunity. Yes. And so just if we can all just acknowledge the opportunity that we have with our families to speak life into our kids. You have more hours with your children today than you may ever have again.
Yeah.
So jump on that opportunity to speak life into them and to teach them about God and to build their character. It's really precious. And I think in a few years, we'll look back at this time and hopefully we'll be able to say, wow, that was really great. Amazingly, in this awful time, God brought some beautiful things in our families. Right. So we love you at Bay Hope. We're praying for you. Keep going. You're doing great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sharon, thanks for being here. Pastor Julie, thank you for being here. It's awesome. We're so privileged to do this. And remember to share this video, everybody. If you do have questions that we can answer, feel free to huck them in the comments whenever. We'll get them as soon as we can. We'll send you a message. But yeah, love you. Looking forward to this weekend. We've got awesome services this weekend, and we've got a whole brand new week of programming afterwards. Love it. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for including me. Bye.
Bye. And